friends, welcome to video lecture on dynamics of machinery. In the today's lecture, we'll see about pre-damped single degree of freedom vibration system. Let us start. Contents for the today's discussion are nothing but the types of damping. So first one, viscous damping. Next one, dry friction and Coulomb damping. Next one, solid or structural damping. Slip or interfacial damping. First of all, we'll see what is exact difference between undamped and damped vibration. Already we have covered this one in first module, but once again we'll see what is a difference between undamped and damped vibration. So if no energy is lost or dissipated in friction or other resistance during vibration, the vibration is undamped vibration. Like this one, the response here shown for amplitude versus time. Now see here, in case of undamped free vibration, so this amplitude will continuously run like this one. No decrease in the amplitude takes place. If any energy is lost in this way, it is called damped vibration. Now see here, in each cycle, the amplitude goes on decreasing and after some time it gets vanish. Okay, so this is the difference between undamped and damped vibration. Right now we are discussing about the damped vibrations. In general, physical systems are associated with one or the other type of damping. In certain cases, amount of damping may be small and in other cases large. When damped free vibration take place, the amplitude of vibration gradually become small and finally is completely lost like this. The rate at which the amplitude decays depends upon the type and amount of damping in the system. The aspects we are primarily interested in damped free vibration are: first one, the frequency of damped oscillations and the rate of decay. Now say viscous damping. This is the most important type of damping and occurs for small velocities in lubricated sliding surfaces, dashboards with small clearances, etc. Eddy current damping is also of viscous nature. The amount of damping resistance will depend upon the relative velocity and upon the parameters of the damping system. For a particular system, the resistance is always proportional to the relative velocity. One of the reasons for so much importance of this type of damping is that it affords an easy analysis of the system by virtue of the fact that the differential equation for the system becomes linear with type of damping. This is the reason why the systems are often represented to include an equivalent viscous damper, even though the damping may not be truly viscous. So viscous damping, so the two different types of viscous dampers are present in the system. First one, fluid dashpot, and second one, eddy current damping. So this consists of a piston like this one moving to and fro in a cylinder full of viscous fluid as shown in figure. There are three components of damping that are experienced when the piston moves in the cylinder. These are damping due to drag of fluid, damping produced by the pressure flow of the fluid through the clearance space as a result of piston displacement. This is the clearance space. Damping resistance due to pressure difference on the fluid flow due to the piston motion. It can be shown that if clearance between the piston and cylinder is small, the first two components of the damping are negligible, and the total damping is wholly due to the third component. It is this one, damping resistance due to pressure difference on the fluid flow due to the piston motion, and is given by C equals to 12 mu divided by pi into APL divided by dm into e raised to 3. So where C is nothing but viscous damping coefficient, mu coefficient of viscosity of the fluid, AP, this AP area of flat side of the piston, here is the flat side of the piston, L is the nothing but the length of the piston, then dm mean diameter of the piston and cylinder, this one, E clearance between this one, clearance between the piston and the cylinder. The assumptions used in deriving the above relations are damping medium being a perfect fluid, sharp edge orifice effects neglected, piston rod diameter small as compared to the piston diameter, laminar flow in the clearance space, here is the clearance space, piston and cylinder being concentric. Because of these above assumptions, this equation is only approximate. In practice, some adjusting device is used in order to adjust the damping to the required value. The next one is nothing but the eddy current damping. Consider a non-ferrous conducting rectangular plate being moved in a direction perpendicular to the lines of magnetic flux is as shown in figure, like this one. As the plate moves, current is induced in the plate and is proportional to the velocity of the plate. This current is in the form of eddy current that set up a magnetic field in the direction opposing the original magnetic field that causes them. Thus, there is a resistance to the motion of the plate in a magnetic field. The resistance force produced by the flux field from the eddy current is proportional to the velocity. Hence, mechanical damping of the viscous type is achieved. This type of damping is used in many vibrometer and also in some other vibration control systems. The next one is nothing but the dry friction or Coulomb damping. This type of damping occurs when two machine parts rub against each other, dry or unlubricated. The damping resistance in this case is partially constant and is independent of the rubbing velocity. Consider the two dry sliding surfaces with a normal reaction R between them. Then the force of friction acting on each of the two meeting surface is given by F equals to mu into R, where mu is defined as the coefficient of friction between the two meeting surfaces. The dependence of mu on the relative rubbing velocity is as shown in the figure. For ideally smooth surfaces, dry friction coefficient mu is independent of the velocity. For rough surfaces, dry friction coefficient decreases somewhat initially with the increase in velocity and then is practically constant, although it does decrease very slightly with further increasing velocity also. For the lubricated surfaces, mu is approximately proportional to the velocity, giving an approximately viscous damping. For the case under study, we shall take mu as the constant throughout the velocity range. The slight decrease in the friction coefficient with the increase in velocity is responsible for many cases of phenomenon known as self-excited vibrations. The aspect that we are interested in connection with the free vibration with the Coulomb damping are: first one, the frequency of damped oscillations, and second one, the rate of decay of these oscillations. Now see the dependency of this coefficient of friction and the relative velocity with respect to the various surfaces. So as per our discussion here, for the smooth surfaces, the coefficient of the friction is independent on this one velocity, rubbing velocity, for in case of smooth surfaces. So in case of dry friction, this one smooth rub surfaces, initially the value for this mu is higher. When the velocity is increases, that will be decreased. And in case of lubricated surfaces, mu is directly proportional to the relative velocity. So next type of damping is solid or structural damping. This type of damping is due to internal friction of molecules. The stress strain diagram for the vibrating body is not a straight line but form a hysteresis loop, the area of which represents the energy dissipated due to molecular friction per cycle per unit time. The size of the loop depends upon the material of the vibrating body, frequency, and the amount of dynamic stresses. Next type, slip or interfacial damping. In many practical applications, damping is generated by the interface of two sliding surfaces. For example, bearing, gears, screws, and guideways. Microscopic slip occurs on the interfaces of machine parts having various types of joints. The degree of slip damping depends upon the factors such as joint forces, for example, bolt tensions, surface properties, nature of the materials of the mating surfaces, and contact pressure. For example, consider a cantilever A, like this one, cantilever A, on which another bar B is clamped. This one, another bar B is clamped by a number of C clamps, like this one, so as to provide the contact pressure P. This one pressure is shown here, contact pressure P at the interface of two surfaces as shown in figure A. Now when the system is subjected to lateral vibrations in the vertical plane, when this one, the system is provided with the lateral vibration, when we pull whole system in upward direction and downward direction, okay, so both this plate move in upward direction. Continuous slip will occurs between the two surfaces. The slip occurs between these two surfaces. The energy dissipated per cycle depends upon the coefficient of friction, contact pressure, and the amplitude is as shown in figure. Here the larger amplitude shown, smaller amplitude shown here. Slip damping, okay, shown on this vertical axis, and pressure on this one. Now see the variation of this one. In case of amplitude, a larger amplitude occurs here, smaller amplitude occurs. Okay, so energy dissipated per cycle depends upon the coefficient of friction, contact pressure, and the amplitude as shown in figure B. In the absence of any contact pressure, there is large slip but no energy dissipated in a friction. At very high pressure, there is hardly any slip and hence no energy is dissipated. There is an optimum value of contact pressure at which energy dissipation is maximum. Larger be the energy dissipation, more effective is the damping in the system. Thank you.